Hi, Miss Bolles. How's it going?
Hi, how's it going? I'm doing great. How are you?
I'm good. What did you have for breakfast this morning?
This morning I had an apple and some yogurt.
Sounds good. How did you get to school today?
I take the cow train.
Ooh. How was your ride today?
It was pretty good. Train was on time, always a plus, and it's a nice, lovely walk from the train station to school.
And what's your favorite poster in your classroom?
My favorite poster is probably the scissors beats paper. Not only is it historical, but it's, punny.
Plates or bowls?
I'm sorry, I didn't catch that.
Plates or bowls?
Plates or bowls? I guess it would depend on what I'm eating, right? But probably a bowl because I make messes.
And if you could take one class at MA, which would you take?
Oh, that's easy. That would be AP Art History because I love history and I love art.
And what do you think is an underrated program on campus?
I think I'm also going to say AP Art History.
Thoughts on flip-flops?
They are horrible shoes. They're basically floss for your toes.
So socks with flip-flops or?
No socks with flip-flops, but I do understand socks with sandals, but only if you're Japanese.
Okay. And what's your favorite campus hiding spot?
That would be Miss Strube's room.
And what makes MA the best school in the district?
The teachers are phenomenal, and the students are great too.
And what's your outfit inspiration?
Comfort and casual professional.
Baggy jeans or skinny jeans?
Baggy. Nobody needs skinny jeans at my age.
Can you trust a man in baggy pants?
Are they baggy or are they saggy? Because if they're saggy, no. But baggy, I get the comfort factor.
And how did you end up at MA?
I actually taught in Southern California and then moved up here. But it was right in the middle of the recession. And so I applied for 16 different schools. And MA was like the only one I got an interview at. And then I got a job here.
And what's the most rewarding part of being department head now?
Oh, not sure I would categorize it as rewarding, but basically kind of seeing the big picture and understanding all of the moving parts.
And who are you closest with on staff?
That would be Miss Strube. She's my homegirl.
And which non-history teacher would do your job the best?
Again, Miss Strube. But that's because she's an AP Art History teacher, and so she knows the history that she could come and teach my class.
And what do you think the best age to be is?
I'm going to say retirement age, because then you get to stop work and go have fun.
And do you think you could land a plane if you had to?
Oh, hell no. Don't even ask. Find somebody else.
Do you have a skincare routine?
Sunblock. Sunblock, sunblock, sunblock. I see all my girl students tanning, and I did it at that age, but I gotta be honest with you. By the time you're 45, you're gonna look like burnt shoe leather. Put some sunblock on, people.
Do you have an inner monologue?
I do.
And what's the best piece of advice someone has given you?
The best piece of advice? So many good choices. I guess that would have to be Mr. Florio, who taught here many years ago, who basically, his famous piece of advice is that the hill you want to die on, right? Is that really the thing you want to go down fighting for? And that kind of helps you put things in perspective.
How many hours of sleep do you get?
I try to shoot for 8 hours a night. I need my sleep.
What time do you wake up?
Oh, I'm up at 5:30 in the morning.
And what time do you go to bed?
I try to shoot for 9:30, but sometimes it's more like 10 or 10:30.
And where did you grow up?
I grew up in Sacramento.
Did you like it?
It's hot, very hot in the summer, and it's not very nice in the winter. But it was home, and it's where my family was, so it'll always be a good place for me.
And what was your favorite subject as a kid?
History, of course.
And what were you like in high school?
I was the history nerd, right? I was the one who did all the textbook reading and did all the summer assignments. And then when class started, everybody was like, quick, get Candace over here. She knows how to answer these questions.
And what was your first job?
My first job, I actually worked for Caltrans, as what's called a student assistant. I was in college, and they just need like a helper in the office a couple days a week, and so it fit with my college schedule, and I got paid for it.
And what was your most recent dream?
My most recent dream. I don't really remember my dreams. I usually wake up either feeling really good or really terrified, but then within like 2 minutes, the whole thing has faded.
What's your first memory?
My first memory. That's an interesting question. I don't know. I have a very vivid memory of when I was like 7. This clearly can't be my first memory, right? But it's a very vivid memory of I was out playing in the yard and I lost my first tooth. And then it was like in the driveway where there's kind of like gravel and other rocks. And I couldn't find it. And I ran in the house crying because, of course, if you don't have the tooth fairy can't bring you money. And my dad went out on hands and knees to go and find that tooth for me.
If you could live in any civilization, which one would you choose?
Oh my gosh. Well, I would want to pick something more recent, being a woman, right? I don't want to go back to something hugely patriarchal. But I also think there's a lot of cool time periods in history that I would want to see. So maybe something like, the Aztec or the Incas, right? Good with the women's rights, but also some fabulous history.
And how many times a week do you think about the Roman Empire?
That would be 0.
What's your coffee order?
My coffee order is none at all. I don't drink coffee. Not a coffee drinker. Hate it. Can't stand the taste of it.
What's the best time of year to have your job?
Summer. Because we get to travel, we get time off, but most of us do still work during the summer. So we are just kind of working at our own pace.
And do you see the months in a circle clockwise, counterclockwise, or not in a circle at all?
Not in a circle. I see them in a grid format.
Interesting. Have you ever failed a class?
No. God, shame on me if I did.
And gray with an A or gray with an E?
Ooh, with an A.
And do you bring a lunch to school?
Absolutely. Every day, packed lunch.
On a scale of 1 to 10, how well do you know your lefts from your rights?
My lefts from my rights? Mm-hmm. I understand them 100%, I'm going to hope.
And do you keep a diary?
I do not. That was one thing I never got into. Journaling or diarying, right? Whatever you want to call it.
And what's your hidden talent?
My hidden talent is, I think, my teacher voice. I'm able to project loudly across an open space or a crowded space. This comes in great at family gatherings.
And Spotify or Apple Music?
I actually don't do either. I'm old school. I still have a Pandora account, but I don't use it very often.
What's the worst haircut you've ever gotten?
Oh my gosh. When I was 12 or 13 years old, I decided I was going to have a short haircut like a boy, like my brother had. So I cut it super short on the sides, shaved the back of it. And this is, of course, in the 90s when you had like the big bangs as well, like the straight up and back. It was not a good look. It was horrible. I'm never going that short again.
And what web browser do you use?
I use Chrome.
And how do you categorize your apps on your phone?
Generally, they're based on how often I open them. If they're a frequent app, they're on the front page. If they're not a frequent app, they're anywhere else where I can find them.
And what's your favorite dessert?
Cheesecake. I have never met a cheesecake I did not like.
And what's your favorite form of social media that's not actually social media?
So I'm not a big social media user, but I am a big news feed person. So I generally check NPR for like domestic news in the United States, and then the BBC for foreign news.
And how long does it take you to respond to a text?
Oh, it depends on who's texting and what they want, right? If it's an easy, quick response, or it's somebody I really want to see and talk to, I'll respond as quick as I can. But if you're asking me for something that I don't want to do, or I don't know the answer, or maybe I'm a little mad at you, it might take me a day or two to get back to you.
And what's the best school event?
I'm sorry, I didn't catch that question.
The best school event.
I still didn't.
The best school event.
School event. I'm sure the students think that some of the games or the dances, I always hear good things about prom, students having tons and tons of fun there.
And What's the best high school journalism program?
Well, ours, of course, right? I hear good things about the MA Chronicle, and I hear good things about the Mark, so they must be the best in all of California.
And do you read the MA Chronicle?
I occasionally read the Chronicle. Unfortunately, most of my reading is taken up with student essays.
And what's your favorite article?
I can't say I have a favorite article. I would have to go through and choose one.
And why is history better than other subjects?
I think history gives you perspective on what's happened in the past and a way to understand what's happening in the present.
And what sport did you play in high school?
I was a volleyball player.
Ooh, what position?
I was, excuse me, excuse me. I was in the back row because, as you'll probably notice, not so tall. So I was the one who, dug up the big serve, not the person who blocked or spiked.
And what's your dream job?
Oh, my dream job would be something like a dog walker, right? Something that has to do with animals, but you don't have to punch a clock. You don't have to sign inside out, right?
A nightmare job?
Oh, nightmare job would be something in the corporate world, right? Something where you have to go to meetings all the time.
And what's your favorite movie?
My favorite movie? It changes, really. But I think like my favorite movie that tends to be my kind of reoccurring favorite is a movie called The 13th Warrior. It's based on a Michael Crichton book called Eaters of the Dead, which is a much cooler title than the title of the movie.
And what's your favorite album?
My favorite, I don't think I actually have a favorite album. I listen to just about everything. So whatever's kind of floating my boat at the moment, it would be my favorite.
And favorite podcast?
Oh, podcasts. I guess right now I'm really into this podcast that's called Money with Katie. And it's basically somebody who gives like financial advice and money advice, but in a more like down to earth, like understandable way.
And what's your favorite book?
Favorite book? Oh, again, so many choices. Whatever I'm reading at the moment is going to be my favorite because that's the one that I'm dealing with. Sorry.
And what book are you reading right now?
Right now, it's a book called Innocent Traitor. It's historical fiction. It's set in the time period of Henry VIII, who has just passed away. His young son, Edward, it will also pass away. And then the fight over who gets the crown, right? And which of his daughters is going to become the next queen.
And do you have any hobbies?
My hobbies include hiking. I like to bike ride as well. Basically anything outdoors.
And do you have any pets?
I have 2 cats. I have Newt, who's like 20 years old, so he's a grumpy old man. And then I have Gomez. He's a young, all-black cat. So we get quite the mix in our household.
And if you could live anywhere else, where would you live?
I would like to live on the Monterey Peninsula. I like it in places like Monterey or Carmel. The weather is nice and cool. You have the ocean right there, but you also have those mountains for hiking and biking.
And what's your ideal weather?
Cooler than this. I mean, I love a great sunny day. Somewhere in the low 70s, right? So you can break out those shorts if you're feeling it, but you're also not baking, right?
And do you have any downtime these days?
Downtime for me comes between June and August.
And what's been your favorite experience at MA?
My favorite experience at MA, because I'm a history teacher, is probably going to be the National History Day competitions, right? Seeing what students create and then seeing them go to these competitions, either at the county or the state. It's really amazing to see what they're able to do.
And last question, who should we interview next?
Oh, Mr. Rosenberg, obviously. He's hip, he's cool, and I hear he's having a baby.